that button. There we go. Get a little bit of loose. Get loose. How y'all doing this morning? I hope everyone's doing well. I really hope everyone's doing well. It's 8:51 in the morning. You know how it is. We had an amazing podcast episode yesterday, guys. So I really want to get into that real quick. So yesterday's podcast episode, I had a girl by the name of Toshima, an entrepreneur, woman, host, owner, everything. Feel me? Stopped by, dropped in yesterday for the Zoom. And, I had an opportunity to interview her for the podcast. When I tell you, this was an amazing podcast. Like, if you are a Black person and you are on my live, go watch and go check that out, because that is such an amazing piece that I did. Because not only did we drop gems, we really got into the nitty gritty of what it means to be a hustler, to be an entrepreneur, to be a student of the game, what it means and how to take your business to the next level. She really laid it out. And here's the thing, she's only 24. So it's not like and I'm only 22. So it's not like we've had a lot of time to really, per se, figure things out, or even, what's the word I'm looking for? We haven't really had time to make our own real thing. When you think about it, we're plugged in. We're listening, and we're adhering to the advice that, actual successful people give. You feel me? Oh my gosh. It was such a great episode. And then when you hear, some of the advice and some of the tips and everything, you're like, oh, I think I've heard that before. I kid you not, none of the information you're going to hear probably is going to be a new or some super discoverable crazy information. You feel me? This isn't a new idea, more or less. This is the execution of previous thoughts and ideas. So if you think of this, if you think of how you're starting your business or whatever it is that you're currently doing, and you think of just how you can do better, right? And you say went to school, or if you took classes and you are on YouTube and you're really trying to find out how to improve whatever it is that you're trying to improve, the hugest key isn't going to figure out how to improve. That's not the important part. Matter of fact, I'd say that's probably step 2 of 2. The most important step. It's not step 1, but it's the most important step. And it's the step that you can skip step 1, is you're going to want to put action in. Because if you know something and don't put action towards it, that's even worse than not knowing and not being able to put action because you don't know. How can I put that? That's like saying, we're not going to arrest this. That's like saying, oh, you're going to go to jail because you committed a crime, right? But had you had information, had you had, the knowledge prior, you would not have done the action that was a crime. Now, the law says that, oh, if you don't know, then, it doesn't excuse you. Ignorance is not a exclusion in the eyes of the law. However, we do know that not knowing knows a lot. So, for example, if you didn't know that someone was a killer and they killed somebody, right? And, you didn't call the police or anything, you had no intentions of trying to get this person arrested, it's because you didn't know that that person was a killer. Had you had the information that that person was a killer, you would have taken the proper actions, or would you? That's the important part. That's the important question, the important pieces of information that need to be known. How will you react with new information? What does that mean? What does reacting with new information mean? Reacting with new information means when someone sits there and tells you what you're doing is not effective, it's not working, you need to change. And then you continue to go down the path that you were still going down. That really doesn't make any sense when you think about it. If your teacher came to your desk and told you and looked at your test, because this has happened to a lot of us before, number 3 is wrong. And they just keep walking. They're not going to tell you how it's wrong. They're not going to tell you why it's wrong. They're not going to tell you what the right answer is, because that's not their job, especially during a test. Your job was to have paying attention to the right answer. You should have already known this information based on paying attention. But because you didn't pay attention, you now don't know this information. Your teacher's not holding it against you, so they walk by and they're like, number 3 is wrong. Anything after that point, if you continue to choose that same answer, then you're the dummy. Like, you're really, like, think, and there's only 2 reasons. It's because, or 1 reason. There's only 1 reason that I can think of. Now, if you guys can think of a reason, feel free to let me know. But I can only think of 1 reason why a person might continue doing something that they were just told doesn't work, or they were just told is ineffective. What's going on? How you doing, sweetheart? That's the name. I'm not me calling something sweet. The name says sweetheart. So, think about that. If someone told you, yo, that stove is hot. The stove is hot. Don't touch the stove. And you proceed to touch the stove, you cannot blame the repercussions, the consequences, whatever happens on anybody else but yourself. Similar thing in business. If you choose to not heed the words of other successful entrepreneurs, other successful business owners, if you choose to not heed the words, the advice, the tips, follow similar path styles of people previous to you that have been successful in the exact same thing that you wish to be successful in, you have nobody to blame but yourself. Nobody to blame but yourself. And I'm sorry. Like, that's not a harsh kind of thing. So I don't think it's harsh at all to say something like that. Because you understood the actions and the consequences fully and then still pursued with whatever action you choose. So that means you wanted the outcome. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. If someone told you, hey, if you open this, you're going to get burned, right? You go to open it. That means you're going to get burned. Now, you might say, oh, I don't believe that person. I don't believe that person. I don't believe that person. Okay, fine and dandy. Now, what do you do when that person has already experienced and been through what you are trying to do? Why don't you believe them? How can you believe that doesn't work? If going back to the hot stove, someone tells you, yo, that stove is hot. I just touched it. It will burn you. Look at my skin. So he tells you it's burnt. You're like, oh, I don't believe him. That's fine. He then tells you, I just touched it. That's how I know it's hot. So not only has he given you information, he has given you the source of this information, experience. Okay, so you don't believe the source and you don't believe the experience. He then has the physical proof of the burn on his arm from touching the stove. You now have irrefutable evidence, knowledge, and information that stove is hot. Matter of fact, I'll take it one further. Some of you actually watch the person burn their hand. And then you, being the stupid bozo monkey you are, that's not a negative derogatory kind of term. I just mean monkey as in you being a monkey see monkey do person. Try and do the same thing. And that really blows my mind. How you can do that. You can watch somebody say, I'm going to go see if the stove is hot. Touch the stove. Burn themselves. Come back to you, say that the stove is hot, I just burnt myself. And you will say, no, I won't. You will go and try to not be burned from the stove, even though you just watched somebody else be burned. The exact same principle and example applies to you doing business or trying to be an entrepreneur. You see all of these entrepreneurs, these business owners, successful people in your field, these rappers, especially these rappers. Like, I think that, I don't know how many times I've said it, and if I've said it a lot and you're tired of hearing me say it, I know Gary's Vee fans are tired of hearing him say it. Consistency is important. Consistency is important. Not only is consistency important, dropping and keeping up to date is important. So as an artist, if you are not producing music, chances are people aren't listening to your music, especially if you're a new artist, unless you're someone like that has a monthly, following and a discography of music, which you as a new artist do not have. Guess what? You need to start getting a discography. If you don't have, you need to start creating something, a base, because guess what? If you blow up on any one of if you take 100 songs, right? Think of this. Here's a great quality, because it's relatable to the rappers and to aspiring artists and local entrepreneurs of that crowd. It takes you 200 songs to blow up, right? Let's just give it an arbitrary number. If it took you 200 songs to blow up, right? And you knew that after you released your 200th song, that the algorithm, and for whatever reason, it would put that song and that song would blow up. How fast would you put out music? And would you care the quality of sound that you put out? Now, we're not saying put out complete 100% trash, because your work is, your sound is reflective of your work. But I'm going to ask you, do those unreleased songs that you have, would those be put out? Because in this example, I'm asking, if you knew 200 songs would get you famous, period, that was an arbitrary number, that 200 songs, and after the 200th song, I would be on and I would get a record label. Say that was the requirement to get a record label. You needed 200 songs, and then you get signed to a record label, and whatever happens after that happens after that. But you get signed after you make 200 records. Imagine this. You are waiting for the perfect right song, the perfect banger, the perfect hook, hit, melody, song, beat, whatever, to blow you up. Where if you just released a song a day, a song a week, a song a month, whatever, and then promoted it, you would get there faster. Think of this. You have been doing music for however many years that you've been doing music, and you only have 10 songs out. So if you've been doing music for 2, 3 years, 4 years, because I know I have been doing music, or at least attempting and rapping and everything, for 3 years. I'm 22, so about 3, 4 years maybe. I have multiple other focuses, but about 3, 4 years. And I have released 2 songs on SoundCloud. How are you going to be discovered with only 2 songs on SoundCloud? How are you going to be discovered if every time I go to your social media page, I can't tell that's what you do? Some of you don't have any links pinned. Some of you don't have your work constantly up. Because here's the thing. People lose interest. So guess what? It's so much harder to get someone re-interested in something because they already understand the value proposition and clearly don't want it, versus getting them interested in something new. So as an artist, why spend your entire time putting music or putting work into a song that only 3 people are going to listen to, and that's it? Think of this. You as a new artist, or whoever you are, you could put out an absolute banger. Matter of fact, you could put out Drake's actual song. You could drop Drake's song with Drake. You could drop an unreleased Drake track and it would not blow up. Think about that. You, as a starving, struggling artist, could not drop a Drake track and still blow up. Like, if you on your SoundCloud had an unreleased song and it was by Drake and you put it on your SoundCloud, you would get no views. Like, think about it. Like, and for the one person that joined, I want to let you know. Like, that's why it's important to be consistent. Because it's about consistency. Like I said, at whatever stage of the game you are in doing your music, if you dropped, just for example, if someone on my timeline dropped a song and it was an unreleased Drake song, meaning this dude may have been somewhere in the studio with Drake, and Drake's like, yo, you can have an unreleased song. He gives him an unreleased song. And it's Drake. And then that person goes and releases that song with no help from Drake, no support. No one knows that Drake gave him the song. It's just this person posted an unreleased song, and niggas are going to think, oh, this person sounds like Drake. But it's not. But it is. To them, it's not, because Drake didn't post it. So it's this random person. So to them, this person wants to sound like Drake. It still would not blow up. So stop worrying about the remedial things. Yes, the quality of your sound is very important. But it's not more important than actually having the song out there. Feel me? But that's my time. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. QLive.